Bondage, Blaine, bad television, on this episode of WatchBots.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to WatchBots, the podcast about old cartoons and quiet moments of self-reflection. This is Ben, joined tonight by Shaylin.
Hello.
Howdy. And Dave.
Hang 10, Ben.
Welcome back from the Great White North.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
Did you push the podcast while you were abroad?
I did, actually. So I was at a big work event, our company kickoff. So just hundreds of coworkers there. When people ask me what I did, I would say I was a father and a husband and a podcast co-host. So I pushed the podcast. Don't worry about that.
That's good. I realized I should have armed you with some stickers. We'll get the real viral stuff going.
I was going to set up a table and hand out t-shirts, but no such luck. Next time.
So you let us down is what you're saying.
Yeah. Shame on me, but this is all new to us, so we'll figure it out the next trip I take.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the podcast has come up at work for me too, and I get really strange about it because it's sort of a hard thing to talk about at the office. So I think the last time it came up, I led with, well, it's not really safe for work, which is like a really natural and normal thing for a human person to say, but yeah.
Meanwhile, on the way out of work tonight, my supervisor said, "It's Wednesday. What cartoon are you going to talk about tonight?" So,
yeah, I've had some people so I mentioned it, and some people like, "Oh, so what's the podcast about?" And I'll kind of hem and haw, and then I'll say like, "Oh, we watch old cartoons," and then I'll get like a judgy stare. That's not right. You know, I'm doing what I want to do. This is fine. It's my passion.
Yeah.
Or Ben's passion, and I'm co-opting into it.
you and me both, friend.
It's shared passion. Art takes many forms.
Exactly. Art builds on art and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, don't judge me.
That's right.
I'm not on this one.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is episode 10, which is, memories, the time has really flown by. And episode 10 is interesting because they say, what is it, like 10,000 hours to become an expert or something?
Is that what they say?
Is that the number? 10,000?
Sure.
I have no idea.
Sounds right.
Sure. Yes, definitely.
I should have looked this up. I didn't. Whatever. I think it's 10,000. So we are 1% of the way to being competent.
Hooray!
We did it.
Hot chocolate for everyone. Good job.
Hot chocolate is for 2%ers.
Oh.
So we'll get to that in 2.5 months.
Okay.
Anyway, Oscar nominations came out.
Yep.
Yes, they did.
They sure did.
We're all really plugged into this. I never felt so out of the entertainment loop as when I looked at it and I went, oh, the only one of the Best Picture nominees I saw was Black Panther.
Which is an excellent movie.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know what the nominations were. I just saw a headline that said Black Panther was nominated for a bunch, and I kept scrolling, and I didn't click.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read about a bunch of the movies that were nominated, but but I've only seen one. Like I haven't I pay attention to all the movies. Like so I knew like the Green Book. There were a couple other ones, but yeah, like the Black Panther I think is the only one I've seen.
Yeah, like I like to consider myself kind of on the edge of man-child and mildly cultured, but it's all out the window because I think I saw most of the animated nominees. So like The Incredibles was on there.
Mm-hmm.
Good movie.
Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man was on there, which I liked, but only Black Panther. So I can't even say I'm interested in most of the movies, but anyway, I'm glad we talked through this. This was a good use of time, I think. We have a lot to say.
Lots.
Should we do an award show? Would that be a lot of work?
How would we do it? Would we personally come up with the awards, or would we just talk about like award-winning cartoons?
Probably the first one. The second one doesn't seem in the wheelhouse of this show.
So we just hand each other awards.
Maybe. Well, I mean, that would be terribly vain. Like
maybe for the 100th episode.
Yeah.
It's like a clip show almost.
Yeah, that sounds like a shitload of work, though.
Yeah, it
maybe.
does.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to do that.
And if we ever get guests, we can like bring them in and give them awards and all that. Yeah, it'd be good.
Let's put that in the hopper as an idea to keep ruminating on.
Yeah, I like that.
The idea hopper.
Yes. Shaped like a hat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I've just decided that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So, mea culpa of the week. And last week, it was just Shaylin and I talking about new kids. And I don't have anything. Do either of you?
I do. So,
for
after our episode aired, I obviously started following all of the new kids on the block on Instagram. And I very excitedly announced, as one does, I wanted them to know that we were resurrecting their cartoon for a week. I excitedly announced to Ben, and I texted Dave, Danny Wood is following us. As it turns out, if I had clicked on the actual button, I would have seen it was Danny Wood 101, which is not, in fact, the official account. It's just some random person who likes Danny Wood, the new kid on the block.
Is that Danny Wood 101 is just the basic education version of him, I take it?
I'm not really sure. This is what I know.
Okay.
I appreciate that he followed us. We followed back, and we hope that he'll keep listening. And maybe Danny Wood himself has a shadow account. I mean, it could be him. Secretly.
Shadow accounts.
Yes.
So is it either like a super fan of Danny Wood, or is it like someone pretending to be Danny Wood? Because like both scenarios are kind of sad.
It could be both of those things simultaneously, I suppose.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
The pictures that they post on Instagram are fantastic. Fiercely interested in them. And
tell me about those pictures.
It's pictures of Danny Wood with people doing stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was going to be like raunchy or something.
No.
Doing stuff.
Yeah. Oddly photoshopped Danny Wood pictures. Yeah.
No, that would be fun. I would look for one of those accounts to follow as well, but
Tumblr, well, that side of Tumblr doesn't exist anymore, so
anyway.
Out of luck.
I'm sorry that I lied to both of you accidentally by not clicking.
We did get followed by a Jordan Knight fake account too on Twitter, but old eagle-eyed Ben picked that one out immediately. But we appreciate the follow regardless.
Yes.
Please keep following us.
Yes.
We need the follows.
We need the numbers.
Oh, please. I've got a mea culpa.
Sure.
Just mea culpa to the listeners out there for bailing last week and just leaving all of you with Ben and Shaylin to flounder about without me. So yeah, big mea culpa there. Sorry about that.
Flounder? Really?
Flounder.
That's where you're going with that?
That was the tightest 66 minutes on a New Kids cartoon that has ever been recorded. I feel mildly confident in saying that.
I have a follow up from something you said last week.
Okay.
I was curious as to, before Shaylin killed the bit for you, what were you going to say about our creative differences? Did you have something planned?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, I powered through it. I was just going to deadpan it for a little bit too. And I talked about this on this week's Prime episode, which has not yet been released. So this will be news to you, Dave. But we knew like weeks ahead of time that you were not going to be in town for this. And I had initially said, oh, I should go back through some old episodes and just pull funny clips. Like Dave saying yes and no and just play as if you were here. But I realized 15 minutes into doing that it would have been so much work to do that. And there's no way that bit would have lasted throughout the whole episode. So just the return on investment would have been supremely low.
You could like replay a clip of me talking about Splinter and be like, Dave, that's the wrong cartoon.
Yeah.
And then just nothing. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been a true replacement, but it might have worked out.
What could we do an around here and just think of like what the creative differences would have been?
you wanted to watch a quality television show. Actually, that's not true based off of what we're about to talk about.
We suggested watching a cartoon with a main character whose name was not Max.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I didn't even make that connection. My creative difference was going to be that I wanted to watch all Fantastic Max episodes.
Well, I mean, it's
and you fucking refused.
See, it's funny because when I was what the hell was I trying to say? When I was registering domain names for the show, one of the suggestions was watchbotsnetwork.com, which I thought was a funny thing, and I grabbed it. So when we hit the big time and expand out, we can have that Fantastic Max show on the podcast WatchBots Network.
Great.
You can do a live stream of you watching it and just your reactions as you watch. Yeah, as its own show.
Yeah.
People can watch me make my fart-smelling face as I react to Fantastic Max. Like, oh, God, what the hell? Why am I watching this?
Yeah, there's a point at which watching somebody be befuddled for 25 minutes is maybe not a good experience either. But, maybe. It might be.
Hey, content is content, okay?
Content is content.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
And that brings us to today's topic, and that's My Pet Monster. And My Pet Monster was a cartoon with a 13-episode run in 1987. Better to flame out than fade away, I guess. Dave, this was a you pick, and I am going to openly accuse you of never having watched this show before.
You're right. Yeah, I've never seen this before.
Because there's no way that we would have watched this if you had actually known what it was about.
I disagree with that point, but you're right. I've never seen this. I don't know why I fucking chose it. I was looking for something easy, so I was like kind of scrolling through Tubi, and there were a bunch of shows that I saw. I was whatever, and I stumbled on My Pet Monster, and I remember the toy. I had the toy. Like a bunch of my friends and cousins had the toy. So I was like, oh, let's check this one out. So without watching it, I just selected it. And now I regret it, so very sorry.
So you brought up the toy, and I did a little research, and you won't be surprised to hear the toy came first. So the toy inspired the show. Now, the toy was created at American Greetings, which is a greeting card company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which you might think is a little weird, but they were also responsible for Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake, and Mad Balls. So I guess...
Mad Balls?
Yeah, they were the balls you held in your hand, and they had gross eyes and stuff.
Were they were like shaped like people, but like it was the person's likeness, but it was just shaped like a ball.
Yeah, there was a mad Abraham Lincoln.
I don't think I was exposed to these toys, and that's okay. I don't want to invest too much time in talking about a toy I missed.
Sure. Well, I'm going to invest a lot of time. There was mad George Washington, mad Bill Cosby,
mad Dan Quayle,
and so on and so forth. But
mad Roseanne Barr.
Oh man. And we're all mad at her.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the toy on eBay now goes for decent money, $50 to $75. But if you have the handcuffs, it goes for like $300, which is crazy.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess because they were easily lost, right? Because they came in two pieces, plus they were an accessory. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was happy with the childlike wonder, but when you break it down into basic economics, the magic is a little bit gone.
That's my job here.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true.
Just bringing us all down.
That's true.
You're welcome.
So the general concept of the show is there's a boy named Max. He has a sister named Jill, a friend named Chucky, who is essentially Data from the Goonies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And Max has a doll, a My Pet Monster doll, who, when he wears the handcuffs, is a doll. And when the handcuffs are off, he's a small monster. And every episode involves them being terrorized by Mr. Hinkle, who is the next door neighbor, and by Beaster, who is a bad and big My Pet Monster. And I'll get into this in a minute, having accidentally watched multiple episodes, but every episode is exactly the same. It's always Mr. Hinkle and it's always Beaster, and nothing ever really changes. So, I mean, Shaylin mentioned this, Dave, but it is interesting. You mentioned you don't know why you picked this, but maybe it was a subconscious thing to go to a show with a young boy named Max that just lacks any kind of plot whatsoever.
Yeah.
Except for his attachment to a toy object that is also living.
So,
oh, maybe. Yeah, I didn't even go that far.
I wonder if Mighty Max, which is the next one I'm going to suggest, has the same sort of plot.
I like that this show being the podcast, not the television show, just we get into a deeper and deeper dive into Dave's psyche. I feel like every episode we get deeper into this, and I appreciate it.
Week after week, you're just pulling back the layers that is me.
Yeah, and as a trained therapist myself, I feel really equipped to walk us through this. But
yeah, well, my brain and emotions are in your hands now, so be careful.
Drunk with power.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the episode that we were supposed to watch is episode 3, Boogie Board Blues, which aired on September 26, 1987. And I say supposed to watch because this is where I really started to hate this show. Dave sent us the link through Tubi, which was the correct link. It linked to Boogie Board Blues. Shaylin and I went to watch it on the Apple TV. We saw the intro, and then another episode title popped up. And I thought, maybe there's just something wrong with the metadata or the link. I don't know. So I clicked the link again through my computer, and it pulled up the same episode. So Shaylin and I watched this entire episode that had nothing to do with boogie boards. And then we realized after that, no, something had just fucked up and we needed to watch a second episode of this. I was so mad.
Same.
Because
had you started work or taking notes on the first episode?
Yeah.
We watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try to take pretty detailed notes, just knowing, we can memorize a lot of stuff, but just there's stuff to get through. So I like to set some benchmarks.
Sure.
So we had to watch another episode that had essentially the same plot. Now, the good news is because the show is so goddamn repetitive, a lot of my notes kind of transferred neatly from one to the other. But we started off on a really, really bad foot.
Yep.
But we did eventually watch Boogie Board Blues, and you know what we need. You want to know what you're seeing, you want contextual feeling. Contextual feeling. Makes you feel so smart. Helps to understand the art. You want that contextual feeling. And to big music, when this gets blocked from YouTube for that this is a fair use. It's a parody, okay? Give us a fucking break. Okay? So contextual feeling. As always, we will start with movies. Number 1 movie in America, the week of September 1987 here, Fatal Attraction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Very, very erotic.
Steamy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like on the Watchbots Network, we should also have a spin-off podcast about 80s and 90s erotic thrillers. I feel like that would be fun.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Content to mine. Number 2, an underrated gem, The Principal.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Who was in that?
Jim Belushi.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Louis Gossett Jr.?
It's so good.
Is it?
It's Jim Belushi as a take-no-shit high school teacher who gets promoted to a principal job, but it's at the roughest, tumblest school imaginable. So the last 35 minutes are him beating up a gang with baseball bats inside the school. And these are high school kids. Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
I thought you were trending toward Annie had a heart of gold. That is not what I'm interpreting from what you're telling me.
For a minute, I thought you were going with Andy had a heart on, which would have been a weird thing to say.
That is not a thing I was going to say.
But it added a layer to the movie that just made Jim Belushi's character really, really rich.
It's true.
I remember that movie. The end of the movie, he like beats the shit out of the high school aged gang leader, and then I think they ask him who he is, and he just goes, "I'm the principal," and he rides away on his motorcycle. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's the last line.
I think you're right, and I've seen that movie probably a dozen times because it always used to be on Saturday afternoon at 2 on like the local station. So
one of those.
Yeah.
All right.
So good flick.
So I don't know why I know this or why I was looking this up, but his character, Rick, I think, comes up in another movie called, oh shit, what is it?
High School High.
No, it's with Jesse Ventura, and it's like it's a sci-fi movie. And so they bring Jim Belushi back. He has a cameo. He's a principal, but he's the same principal from The Principal. It's a really weird, like, it makes no sense. Like, why is he part of this now sci-fi world?
Huh.
Yeah, I'll look it up later.
I'm kind of into that. I kind of like the idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And speaking of, well, I guess it's not sci-fi, but number 3 was the original Hellraiser.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right.
So, was Hellraiser 3 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So we'll find Hellraiser 2 and complete the set.
I'm going to pick my next episode just solely based
off that time.
Yeah. And it will be Mighty Max.
Probably. So music, number 1, Whitney Houston. Didn't we almost have it all?
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah. Sad. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Number 2, Here I Go Again by Whitesnake. Pretty seminal song of the time. Number 3, I Just Can't Stop Loving You by Michael Jackson. Also R.I.P.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It didn't make it.
Yeah. And this week we're going to go with top toys. And when I looked up top toys of 1987, the thing that kept coming up over and over again was the koosh ball.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I can't believe that was only invented in 1987. That can't be right.
I believe it.
Like, I can't fathom how a koosh ball got so popular. And then I remember that fidget spinners were a thing in the last 2 years. So maybe it makes sense.
The cool thing about koosh balls is that they didn't leave a welt if you whipped them at someone really hard, the same way that a bouncy ball might. Not that I have any experience with that.
Another hot toy was the Popple.
Ooh, I love the Popples. That's a cartoon we should watch.
Popples also would not leave a welt if you had them rolled up, because if you hit them with the plastic eyes, that would probably hurt. But like, I had a Popple that turned into a soccer ball. So if I hummed that at you, it probably wouldn't leave a welt.
I think I had a basketball Popple. Yeah. And my sister had a bunch of other ones too. Shaylin, what sort of acts of violence can you inflict with a Popple?
You just have to you have to pop it so that its head is exposed.
And then you can just
let those eyeballs chip some teeth.
Beating people with it.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was doing wrong when I was a kid. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Cool.
So on to my pet monster. And as we usually do, let's start with the song, which I apologize for in advance, but we have a format and we have to stick to it.
On him I can depend. My pet monster, a monster of a friend. He's big and blue and scary, but a friendly monster too. My pet monster, I love you. He's always playing scary tricks, but I know that's okay. 'Cause he's just having lots of fun in his own monster way. He loves to munch on garbage. He'll even eat the can. If this sounds gross, please understand. He's my best friend. My pet monster, my very, very bestest friend. My pet monster, a monster of a friend. A monster
It's not a good way to start a show with a generic Addams Family snap and then Calliope music with shitty lyrics. I was filled with dread 1 minute into the show.
I was filled with dread 12 seconds into the theme song. I can name that song.
I was going to say
in
this
4 seconds.
This isn't a competition. Dave, were you filled with dread before you turned the episode on?
Yeah, in 1 second, I was filled with dread. Yeah, so like I remember, so I heard the song and then I had to play it again and again and again because it's like 5 different songs.
Sure.
In one. There's the Addams Family thing. Then it's like a generic kid show. Then it's Beetlejuice. Like, do you remember that cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got like that. It goes back to kid show, and then it's like what I'm amazed at is the end of the song. Like the shitty kid is just belting out like a Broadway tune.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Ugh, man, it's so bad. It's like the garbage that the monster eats. It's just awful.
Well, what I really appreciate about this particular intro is that he says basically the monster's kind of an a-hole.
Mm-hmm.
He does horrible, scary things. But it's okay, because he's my friend. Why are you friend with him if he's such a dick? Like, I don't...
Everybody should be nice to each other.
I just... put those handcuffs on him, let him be a stuffed animal.
Yeah, so the handcuffs thing, I feel confident talking about this because we watched the first episode. They explain that when Monster, who has no name, sometimes he's called Monzy, which is kind of erotic sounding. But anyway, they put the handcuffs on him and he turns into a doll and he came from Monsterland. But none of that is ever really explained per se.
At all?
Yeah, it's another instance of like letting the theme song explain the background of the show and doing it poorly.
Yeah, and you know, because we didn't watch the first episode, usually I would say, "Oh, maybe that was explained somewhere," but here it never was. So good quality right off the bat.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we open with a shot of a huge treehouse and our 3 main kid characters, so Max, Chucky, and Jill, are just throwing water at the monster. Like Jill has a pail filled with water. He's standing on a surfboard thing. Like what was going on?
They're waterboarding him.
I see.
Was that not clear?
I see. I guess it was clear. They're chanting, but it's a little weird because there's 3 kids, but if you listen to this, it sounds like there's a big crowd.
They're just really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And they're also in an echo chamber.
What I will give to My Pet Monster is that it did the kids chanting better than New Kids on the Block, where
That's true.
you know, they showed a crowd of thousands and you heard 3 voices. Maybe the 2 shows mixed recordings or something. I don't know.
It also did a better job than Denver the Last Dinosaur did with like the kids
Mm-hmm.
just playing around and not really saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did a better job than that, but still pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, how big? Why is that treehouse so big? It's enormous.
Yeah. They make, or Mr. Hinkle makes reference to it.
He makes reference to it, and so does the friend at... Yes, I was making sure it was the right episode.
What good content. Us just stammering around, can't remembering what we watched.
So the sister's friend makes a weird comment about
Yes.
the treehouse too.
Yeah. We'll get to her in 1 second.
Yeah.
But like you could fit the Baroness's giant copper hot tub in there.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, Johnny's. It's as big as Johnny's bedroom for Rambo. Like why are settings in cartoons so fucking enormous?
Because
it's really
magical.
bothering me. It's magical.
It's a magical space where you can just go as big as your imagination can handle, and you don't have to worry about the mortgage or paying for the heating bill. Because it's a cartoon.
Well, you wouldn't heat a treehouse either.
And as a kid, I wasn't worried about mortgages.
Well, I had a different kind of childhood than you.
Okay. At 3 years old, you were worried about the mortgage.
My imaginary friend, Twar the Worm, was the ghost of a girl who got murdered by her parents for the insurance money. And I told my parents that when I was 4. So,
Oh, man.
yeah.
All right.
And she lived in a submarine.
No, she lived at Disney World, and I was super jealous all the time.
When I was younger, my imaginary friend was an accountant. His name was John, and he helped me file my tax returns.
My-
Listen, you.
My imaginary friend was Doritos, and baby, they weren't imaginary.
Are you, we're getting so off topic, but whatever. Are you a Cool Ranch or a nacho cheese Dorito guy?
I prefer nacho cheese. That's what I was born and bred on.
Okay. Shaylin?
I'm a Cooler Ranch girl.
Yeah, give me Cool Ranch all day long.
So another entry into the ring there, I was at the grocery store the other day and they had Flamin' Hot Doritos.
I've seen commercials for them.
Yeah.
I've not tried them.
Like Flamin' Hot Cheetos are pretty banging. So I imagine that these would be good as well.
I don't know that they're good, the Flaming Hot Cheetos. And in interest of my health, I'm not going to try them. I'm just going to keep assuming that they're terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll taste test on mic.
Crunch.
It's gonna sound good.
Yeah.
Well, in interest of time, should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to play a clip.
Sure does, buddy. But don't worry. I'll teach you how to really surf once we hit the beach.
Yeah, monster surf! Monster surf! After today's Junior Boogie Board contest, Max will be the best surfer around.
So that clip kind of introduces the concept of the episode, and the kids are going to the beach. There is a junior boogie board competition, and Monster wants to surf.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought I had clipped Jill talking there, which was the main reason I played that, but I feel like there's something wrong with Jill. She sounds mildly drunk in a lot of her line reads, or like she's mumbling through it. It's a little unnerving.
I thought so I'm going to start the power hour early. I thought the voice actors in this were like, for people playing children, they were doing a terrible job of sounding like children. And maybe it's the script to blame, but the enunciation was like distracting for me because no child talks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think Amy was the worst.
Amy was,
The worst offender of that.
definitely
It's
true.
like, why does she sound like a... Why does she sound just like your older nosy neighbor? I like she should have been played by, or she should have played Mr. Hinkle. Yeah.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah, you could combine
Thank
those
you.
characters. I could see that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Amy in 1 second, and we should talk about Chucky too.
Yeah.
So Chucky is the nerdy friend of Max, who also appears to be a nerd, and I think he's supposed to be Asian. He looks kind of Asian.
I think so.
Yeah, like he also kind of looks like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, but
Yes,
with different
he
hair.
does.
Yeah, and so he's an inventor, just like Data from the Goonies, which is a little, lazy, offensive. I don't know.
I would go with both.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the things, yeah.
yeah, but he invents a life vest for my pet monster, and let's hear him describe it in a couple of different ways.
If you get into trouble, just pull.
Just pull.
Where's the plug? I point to it, but my arms are stuck.
I don't know. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's one of those. He's supposed to be kind of ingenious with his inventions. And what did he come up with?
A life vest.
A life vest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if a 10-year-old wrote it.
Yeah, he's not really adding a lot to the episode either.
No.
So,
He needs a jacket that opens up and a giant boxing glove like comes out and punches people. That's what.
And a more
would be
racist depiction.
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So Jill's friend Amy shows up at the treehouse, and we've talked about her voice acting. I think we'll talk about her more at the beach itself, but Jill activates like a booby trap at the treehouse, so Amy doesn't see my pet monster, and she tumbles backwards down these stairs, and it certainly would have killed her.
Yes.
And this introduces something that comes up again and again and was really bizarre to me. This is another one of those shows where the public can't see the monster, right? Or they don't want them to. So Jill is willing to have her best friend killed. But they bring the monster to the beach and he is cavorting around for the entire episode. And they explained it away in a couple of ways that we'll get to, but I don't know. It just felt so lazy to me.
There was no need for, like, Sure, there's no need for cartoons. We don't need art to exist in many ways. The plot line of the show is so thin. When you talk about plot driven, why does Monster go to the beach? Because otherwise we have no episode, of course.
Right.
Like there's
Right. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no development. There's no arc. There's no anything. Yeah.
And let's talk about the handcuffs too. And we talked about this a little bit, but Max puts the handcuffs on Monster. Let's listen to it and we can talk about it a bit.
Monster go bye-bye.
See you at the beach, buddy.
Be there or be square.
Oh, that was the end. he just sounds so... yeah.
That last sound effect just sounds like a fart.
Yeah.
Whoop.
So he just sounds so sad. And I found myself wondering, like, do you think he likes having his agency taken away from him? He's literally going into bondage and he has no control over anything. It's a little unsettling when you put a lot of thought into it. Like, I do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's almost like, okay, I'm going to go comatose now. Please don't accidentally behead me on the way to the beach. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like sadly resigned, and it's really, really depressing to watch.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the beach.
we're at the beach.
We're at the beach. There are a lot of fat people at the beach, which good for the show for being inclusive. And I want to talk about Amy's swimsuit a little bit here.
Thank you. I was wondering if I was the only one that noticed.
No.
But go on, please.
Yeah. So it's not an issue the entire show, but when you first see Amy on the beach, she's lying down. She's kind of on her side. And she's got like this purple Andre the Giant looking one piece on. So it's a one strap. But the way that it's drawn and cut, that boob would have been full on exposed.
Just flopping out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so the fashion of the cartoon in the sense of what the characters are wearing, it makes sense for 1987, but that very specific drawing was questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who reviewed that and was like, "Oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fine."
Yeah.
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 Unless Amy's not human. That's the other option.
Could be.
Yeah.
Is she a monster herself?
Yes. I mean, her attitudes toward certain things are certainly monstrous.
It's true. She's
true.
She's a monster for Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
And let's introduce our tertiary antagonist here, Blaine. And
Blaine the dickhead.
that's true. That's his last name, the dickhead. Amy has a little
true.
crush on Blaine, and she can tell us all about him.
Sure, he's a great little surfer. It's just that Blaine is so much better.
Who's Blaine?
So Blaine, boy, I'm trying to think of how to describe him. He kind of looks like Stretch Armstrong.
But with Dennis the Menace's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Max is, what would you say, 10?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thereabouts?
That seems fair, yeah.
Blaine looks like he's about 18. So I had a question about how they could be in the same age group.
Okay.
But
I mean, the whole competition is the junior competition.
Sure.
So maybe they just have an under 18 and Blaine is like 17 and a half or something.
Mhm.
I answered your question. You had a question.
under 18, eh?
Don't wink.
I'm winking.
Gross.
Oh, I can hear it.
That is gross. Anyway.
Anyway, so Blaine is a little bit off, and I'm going to play 2 Blaine clips here back to back.
Hello, Blaine.
Oh, hi, Abby. Who's your little friend?
Actually, you know what? I'll stop there. Blaine sounds like a sheep mixed with a robot.
Abby.
Yeah. He's also very superstitious as well, and we could talk about this.
Well, good luck, Squirt. And with a number like 13, you're gonna need it.
Ooh, he got him.
Okay.
He really got him.
Yeah.
I love how sinister he sounds too. Like, you're gonna need it. It sounds like a threat.
Yeah.
Like he's going to break his ankles.
He's threatening him through bad. He's not threatening him through like violence or like I'm gonna ruin you. It's like you're gonna get bad luck. That's it. Yeah. Hope a black cat doesn't cross your path.
Yeah. Or like 13. You're not gonna make it to 13, Sonny. And then he would flex at him. That's how I would have written it.
Yeah.
I think your version is better.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we've introduced our main characters. We've introduced the conflict, but don't worry, we need more villains. And here is where we are introduced to Mr. Hinkle.
Mr. Hinkle, what are you doing here?
Well, Dr. Lapooch, Princess's veterinarian, prescribed a day of rest and relaxation at the beach.
Mr. Hinkle looked a little bit like Hitler. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And let me paint a audio picture for you, the listener here. Mr. Hinkle is in one of those 1920s like striped bathing suits. So it's sort of like a onesie. And he's carrying his dog Princess, who's a pink poodle. And they've just come from seeing Dr. Lapooch.
The pink poodle has a very striking resemblance to the blue poodle from All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I found that to be frustrating.
Frustrating?
Because they couldn't even come up with like a new dog. They had to steal it from another movie. Although All Dogs Go to Heaven might have been later.
All Dogs Go to Heaven was definitely later.
Anyway, I felt like they were relying on a stereotype.
Are you thinking of the poodle from Oliver and Company too?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're definitely right.
Only so many ways to draw a poodle.
Bette Midler voiced, I believe.
Huh.
Yeah.
Side note, this is the first episode of a cartoon that we have watched and talked about that Pat Fraley was not a part of.
Fuck. Damn it.
We broke the streak. Number 10.
Recording over.
Yeah, we're done. Let's go back, watch a new cartoon, and quickly get up to speed on that.
I'm just excited to tweet at him and let him know he needs to somehow come up with like a reboot of this cartoon so he can get back on this wagon.
He personally?
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Hinkle's dog is mentally unstable because of Monster. So Monster keeps freaking her out. And right as Mr. Hinkle comes in, Max and the Monster are in like a bathhouse to get Monster to be sentient again. And then Mr. Hinkle tries to force his way into the washroom, which take yourself out of the narrative for a minute and just picture like this creepy looking man forcing his way into the bathroom with a young boy. It's not good.
Times were different in 1987.
Yeah.
But what I will give the cartoon credit for is a little bit of self-awareness, and Jill provides us that.
Great, Mr. Hinkle and Princess. Now all we need is Beaster.
She must have seen the show because, wouldn't you know it, we then cut to Beaster coming out. And Beaster is a very large but generic monster who appears out of a portal, and his one goal is to get Monster back to Monsterland. And it was when Beaster showed up, I put in my notes, just put a bullet in me, because with this having been the second episode we watched, it's the same fucking thing. It just drove me insane.
I too watched a second episode of this, and you're right, it's the exact same thing. Also, the void, the dimension he comes from, it's just black.
Monsterland.
It's just blackness. Like all they show is like this black rectangle or square or whatever, and he exits from it. It's so lazy. Like I want to see where Monster came from and where Beaster comes from, but instead he's just coming from this void, like that looks like where Superman threw.
Yes.
Through
I was just going to say
the
that.
people in Superman 2.
The Phantom Zone.
Yeah, the Phantom Zone, exactly.
So I think if you look at the Wikipedia page, I believe they go to Monsterland in maybe the last episode of the series.
Okay.
So, I guess that's a treat. So just to jump us ahead a little bit here. So the competition starts, and it struck me a little odd that Jill is so happy hanging out with those two younger boys, because I feel like, well, I wasn't ever a teenage girl.
I was.
Right.
Once.
If you had two little brothers it seems like the stereotype is you would want to hang out with kids your own age or chase after new kids or whatever the case may be.
So I remember I don't have a little brother myself, but my best friend has a little brother. And when he did stuff like baseball camp, or he had a band later in high school, we did go to events to like support him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of took her to be like, she's very proud of his surfing, and so she's supporting him.
Uh-huh.
But I would never have gone without my friends also being there, if that makes sense. Like, yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's not weird.
Maybe
it's not that weird.
It's
maybe
weird.
she's always with him because they have no parents. Like, you never see the parents in this show.
Do you think that he's actually her baby?
Oh, man.
Yes.
She's a very young single mom.
Jill likes to get down.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And Blaine's the father.
That's why they call her Jill the Thrill.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
I did wonder.
Comes up a lot. So the competition starts. Blaine tries to murder Max in the big waves, and Max almost drowns, which is a funny moment. I will post the GIF up, and it's Max floundering around, and Monster saves him, and Monster drags Max back to the beach.
Well, he saves him using Chucky's
of course.
ingenious life vest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he saves him, he brings him back, and then like Max is sputtering and Monster's just standing there. And that's when it hit me, like, are they trying to hide the monster? But Amy calls him a lifeguard, which Amy, maybe she was blind or something. Tough to tell.
Could be.
Tough to tell.
It was approximately this point in the episode where I lost consciousness briefly out of total boredom.
It was actually later. I have the note where you fell asleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It felt like this was a place where I definitely had, like, if you look at my notes, you can see where my pen just dragged across the page. And I didn't finish writing a word.
It's a real solid commitment to the podcast when you can't stay awake to watch the...
It was that difficult to watch the second episode.
Yeah, geez. Thanks, Shaylin.
I mean, I made it through it.
I'm across the ocean listening to the raw cut of your episode last week, and you can't even stay awake for 10 minutes.
I guess I was tired, and the episode was really boring.
Yeah, I agree with you, though. I had to watch this several times to pay attention to it. Like, it took so much energy just to focus on the episode, because I would just like, they'd just be doing nothing, and I would just like, all right, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee or whatever.
I don't want to be
pick up
watching
the living room.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to be doing something that's not this.
Right.
Yeah.
But here we are, and we're doing it.
No. I like doing the podcast part. It was watching this specific cartoon that was hard.
Sounds good.
Smiling at you.
Feel insulted, Ben, because it's an insult.
It's all an insult. This whole podcast is an insult. Thanks for listening. But let's move on. So Max decides to quit surfing. His self-confidence is just shot, and it's a good thing to hear.
Max, are you okay?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's not the clip I thought it was. Anyway, Max quits surfing, which is a good message. And
when someone tries to brutally attack you and murder you, best to stay out of their way. Is that the lesson?
I think so, but he's not scared of Blaine. He's scared of surfing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if he wanted to avoid Blaine the whole episode, that would make sense, because Blaine tried to murder him.
Yeah.
Self-preservation.
But now he's just like afraid of surfboards.
More or less.
In the water. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll get back to Max in a second, but we run across Beaster again, and Beaster is like burrowing underground, and he burrows into this really large woman, and then he goes into the bathhouse and he comes out wearing a women's swimsuit, and that's the joke. I don't know.
This like cat calls, like
yeah. Yeah.
hubba.
I did wonder where those disembodied voices were coming from. Like, was there just a table of judges for people coming out of the changing rooms?
That was a cameo by Pat Fraley.
Could be.
Yeah.
So Max and Monster, to kill the day, they decide to go roller skating with no helmet and no shirt and no pads, which, Dave, I know is your dream, but Max does a good job describing this as well. Oh, go ahead.
It's a complete ripoff of Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal Running Scared.
See, I knew that this was your aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got me.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun. Yeah, sure.
That's how I felt about this episode. Lots of fun. Like, even Monster can't force himself.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, boy.
So Beaster tries to capture Monster by doing the old cut a hole in the bridge trick. And Mr. Hinkle and Princess fall through. And we hear the aftermath of that.
Princess!
So I'm laughing at the sound, but I was just struck with this deep sympathy for Princess, the dog. She has this weirdo owner who is possibly in love with her.
Yeah.
And she's just being terrorized constantly by the literal monster next door. And it's just really sad. This poor dog.
This monster's all over her life. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's not cool at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jill and Chucky come up with a plan, and they want to force Max to surf. And I'm going to tell a story about how forcing is never the way to do this. Like, if you don't want to surf, don't surf. When I was a kid, my parents got me a bike, and they were going to teach me to ride the bike. And because, like, I was a little scaredy boy, I couldn't get the hang of it. And my dad, who I love dearly, and this is not indicative of him as a father, thought the best way to get me to learn was to push me ahead on the bike. So, like, put the hand on the seat and push, and, I'll learn to pedal. Unfortunately, because I was, again, a gangly little wussy boy, didn't put my feet on the pedal, and I just got my leg caught in the chain. So I cut my leg all to hell.
Oh, God.
And I didn't go to the hospital or anything, but it was pretty traumatic. And so I didn't learn how to ride a bike until much, much later. And when I went to try to learn the second time, I jacked the brakes too hard. So, bikes have front brakes and rear brakes.
Mm-hmm.
And you would really only ever use the front brakes if you were a fucking moron. So that's what I did. And I went ass over tea kettle over the handlebars. And that one I did have to go to the emergency room for because it burned when I peed.
So sad.
And I was diagnosed with a bruised spermical cord.
How old were you?
16, 17 maybe.
Okay.
Were you that old?
Yeah. Well, fuck you. I'm sorry. It just took me a while.
No, it just really reinforces like how traumatizing the first event was.
Yeah.
That's all.
It took me a decade to get over it. And then I screwed myself up immediately too. This is why I don't play a lot of sports.
I don't play sports because I don't like moving so much.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's why it's not cool to force kids to do things.
Right.
Yeah. The end. But they do. So they have these weird, wacky, elaborate plans, and I'm going to skip over them a little bit. Except that this was about the point where Shaylin actually fell asleep, and I had to rouse her to finish watching the show.
There's pen marks in my notebook, but they don't amount to words.
I wonder if what is it, like 5 minutes left in the episode or something? Like you could have let her sleep, and she probably would have been just as ready as you and me for this. But the remainder of the episode, because nothing happens. Nothing happens.
Yeah, but this is why we watched the show to talk about the show.
Yeah.
Like, I could end this right now and just say, yeah, some bullshit happened, and we move on. And maybe we should do that because we're running a little long. But no, we talk about the show.
we will plow through this.
Yeah, and listener, you're gonna fucking listen to it and like it.
All I know is that I didn't know if I had been asleep for 1 minute or 1 year. And I looked up at the screen and there's like a shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. They faked a shark attacking Chucky to try to convince Max to surf. Now, when I think, you know what? I should go in the water. Do you know what the last thing I want to see is? a shark in the water that someone's trying to convince me to go into.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Terrible plan.
Yeah, not great plans. And eventually the kids are out in a motorboat, which is weird when you think about it. Because
Where'd they get that?
Yeah, not only that, I don't think I could operate a motorboat today, and I'm 34 years old.
I think you'd be okay.
I don't think so at all, but thank you.
Have some goddamn confidence, Ben.
No. So they're in a motorboat.
It's weird. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in a motorboat, and Beaster comes out, and we get a really nice Beaster and Monster exchange.
Monster love chili doggies.
Mr. Love Monster Doggies.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
And also, Beaster is now dressed as a cowboy,
Yes. Yeah.
but only for like a second.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brings costumes.
It seems important to mention that because he's going to lasso.
Lasso.
I don't know what accent that was. It was
That's-
definitely a
That-
mispronunciation.
My alma mater, Lasso.
Yeah, he's trying to catch Monster with his rope, so he had to dress like a cowboy for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
You can only lasso when you're wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Is this at the point where Princess was sunbathing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Did
it
you
was.
both notice that?
Yeah.
Why is a dog sunbathing?
And who buried Mr. Hinkle up to his neck
Exactly.
in the sand
Princess did.
before she started sunbathing?
Yeah.
Well, she was trying to kill him because she was tired of living with him, living under his cruelty. But yeah, like she's like sitting there, she's mostly a regular dog in the show. She has like kind of human reactions, but like mostly the show treats her like a regular dog. And then, but she's then sitting there like sunbathing, like
With the mirror thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the very
yeah.
80s, like, we're on the beach.
like so
reflecting
the sun's
sun
reflecting.
rays.
Yeah. Oh my God. It I don't know why, but this threw me for a loop more than anything else in this episode. I could not handle it.
Did you ever see that episode of Rescue 911
Oh my God, why
Where-
are you giving me nightmares on purpose?
where the kid is building the fortress of sand on the beach and it collapses on him?
I literally threw up when I saw it because of the sand
Maybe
that they
that-
pumped out of his lungs.
Maybe that's what happened to Mr. Hinkle.
He built a fort and it collapsed on his body.
Yeah, but like he was able to dig his head out.
They should bring back Rescue 911.
Yeah,
It was a great
Disagree.
show.
For sure.
Disagree.
I would cut in the Rescue 911 clip, but I'm sure we'd be prosecuted or something for that at this point.
That show gave me
Big
so much
Shatner.
unnecessary trauma. No, hated it. Thumbs down.
Almost like the victims in the show.
Thumbs down.
Too true. Anyway, let's fucking finish this up. So Beaster attacks Chucky and Monster in the boat, and Chucky's got a little bit of a fixation.
Now let's make like a blender and beat it.
That's part one, and here's part two.
Stroke, 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 stroke.
I did not put those things together.
Well, if you get in trouble, just pull, Ben.
The pieces are there, folks. Mm-hmm. I want to believe. I want to believe. So Max is fucking moping around while his best friend and his pet Monster are being chased and likely killed. But then he finally gets it, and that's pretty cool.
Beaster's after Monty.
Nice try, Jill, but I'm not falling for any more of your
Help, Max. Help,
tricks.
Monster.
And then he jumps on his surfboard, and the surfboard is like, it's going through the water like a boat, which I'm pretty sure is not how surfing works. Like, there's no way to propel. Like, you go on the waves.
Well, you wouldn't know that because you've never surfed before.
Have I surfed?
I've boogie boarded. Does that count?
No.
No, that's not the same. I've never surfed. I would surf.
I feel
Actually,
like-
no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Having been in an ocean, I can contest the physics of this scene.
I was just joking. I just wanted to call up Ben's lack of surfing knowledge and confidence. Yeah, I would never surf either because sharks. That's why. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need that.
I have a gnarly scar on my hip from falling
shark attack.
falling out of a wave, like onto sand when like the water was receding. And I was convinced that day that a shark was going to eat me, even though the water was like 9 degrees.
Yeah, you would have been chum.
I was very concerned. I remember being really, really worried about it.
I thought you were going to say you got a scar from a thrasher shark, but
That would have been cooler.
yeah, much cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. We're an hour in, so I'm going to kick us ahead to the finale here. Max saves the day. He goes on one last run with Chucky and Monster riding on his shoulders. So impressive core strength from Max. And he gives us one proclamation that I think all the listeners need to know.
Monster fun and fun for all!
Makes sense.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. So he wins the competition with his last run. Blaine tries to match him and is seemingly killed. And the judge, who's wearing like a puka shell necklace and a big peace sign, throws to the 3 judges who are all identical, and Max wins. Is that the end of the episode?
Yes.
The one last thing, I didn't pull a clip of this. The closing credit music sounded a little bit like My Two Dads.
Oh.
You
definitely
can
right.
count on me. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and also when Max gets his medal, Pomp and Circumstance plays.
Yes.
Maybe this was good.
No.
Maybe I did enjoy this.
I feel like if we just read the summary, we'd be like, yeah, this is great. And then when you watch it, it just kills
Oh, it
all
killed.
of it. Knocked me right unconscious.
It did.
It did.
Boom.
Literal death. All right, let's rate this. Dave, would you show this to a child?
Yes. It's harmless fun?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not the right word. It exists, and it is harmless. So I would show it to a kid. Also, I need to teach my kids how to overcome the preppy Blaines of the world.
Sure.
Yeah, they need that resiliency.
Mm-hmm. Shaylin?
No, I wouldn't. And the reason is because I would like all storytellers of the future to not rely on plot-driven devices to tell a story.
That's why.
Bad
Fair
learning
enough.
experience.
Fair enough.
Okay. I would say yes, if only because it would help calm a child down. It's pretty dull.
Oh,
You know, the tryptophan effect.
that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
It's like a lullaby.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And let's go with 1 to 5 episodes of this show that we will ever watch again.
0.
Fair, Dave?
Yeah, 0. Not coming back to this one. But I would give it I'd add a sunbathing poodle to that. So
So it's
Yeah.
like a half.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go 0, but there is apparently a 1-hour live action version
Yep.
that's
Yes.
not the
Yes.
same characters, but it sounds like the same general concept. So that I
It's
would
still the
probably, I would check that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Great.
So Dave, you selected this week's game-ish segment, so I will throw it to you.
I did. Shaylin,
Yes.
this is a game you're going to love.
I already love it.
Ben, you're going to fucking hate it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first, hopefully the first of many, voice acting power hours. I've taken a scene from today's episode. I've transcribed it. I've created a script, doled out parts to each of us. And we're going to take turns practicing and doing our voiceover stuff. So we're going to...
Good Lord.
I've broken it down. We're all going to take turns as the narrator. And I've cast... Each of us has 2 characters. So I will be Amy and Jill. Ben, you are going to be Monster and Chucky. And Shaylin, you're going to be Max and Blaine. So if you open up your document, you'll notice that I have I've color-coded it. So I'm in yellow, Ben, you're in blue, Shaylin, you're in purple. And then we have our characters. So how is this going to work? How is this a game? There's no points, but at the end, I am going to announce an MVP, most voiceover person.
Okay.
So I want you both to give it your all, or you'll lose, and this bit will flop. So, are there any questions before we dive in? Any reactions, or do you just want to go?
I will say you mentioned there's no points and remove an S, and you've about captured the feel of our show.
Yeah. I think this encapsulates everything.
I'm confused. I'm a little concerned, but let's dive in. What could go wrong?
It's essentially a table reading. And I will be judging you for your performances at the end.
A table.
I'm already uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're real pros.
Okay. So you've got your characters?
Ostensibly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's begin. We begin our scene as Max and Monster sit listlessly on a surfboard. The sun is high and the water still as glass. As Max explains to Monster the finer points of surfing, a large wave suddenly overtakes them, and the two embark on a coming-of-age journey sure to change Max's life forever. Max is able to stand both himself and Monster up on the surfboard to catch that sweet wave. We, the audience, hang 10 on the commencement of this building's roman.
Hang on, buddy.
Max immediately regrets his words. Monster leaps up onto his shoulders and covers Max's eyes with his furry blue hands. Max has befriended and tamed this sharp-clawed beast, but he knows that the monster is still an animal, wild and dangerous. As Grizzly Man taught us, an attempt to conquer nature is a game of vanity. This thought, always lingering in the back of Max's mind, has now been thrust to the foreground and ruins Max's concentration.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Look out, Monster. I can't see.
You don't want to.
The monster played by Nicolas Cage. We cut to the shore, where Amy, Jill, and Chucky are watching Max and Monster brave the blue crush. That's Max? Max and Monster continue to struggle on the surfboard. Max, though, with his unbridled passion for catching a gnarly barrel and riding it, stays upright. When death stares Max in the face, Max laughs.
Whoa! Whoa!
We cut back to the beach where Chucky and Jill fervently cheer on Max and his pet monster. The sun beats down on them, but seeing Max and Monster surf with aplomb is a refreshing breeze on this blistering hot day.
Go, Max!
Go, Max! Go!
Gangway! You're blue.
Ben, this is you.
Fuck, yeah, I scrolled ahead. As Max and Monster carve their way through the massive wave, avoiding sharks and other predators of the deep, Blaine enters the scene, impressively riding the very top of the wave, just below the white, foamy crest. His moves are as fluid as the water on which he hangs 10. His hair is perfectly coiffed.
This'll show him.
Max and Monster finally have stabilized themselves and are casually riding the world's most notorious wave, a wave that has been known to take lives, to make wives into widows, but Max meets it head-on, unperturbed. Out of nowhere, though, Blaine cuts across them, forcing them to wipe out. They fall off the board and into the shark-infested, churning sea below them.
Hey! Whoa!
Cut back to the beach, where the onlookers watch helplessly as the surfing carnage unfolds. This is a lesson in futility, and nature is our harsh teacher. Oh! Bad wipeout!
Ever the quick thinker, Monster inflates the life vest that Chucky gave to him. His survival instincts have kicked in. He's brought back to the days where he roamed the dumps of Monsterland, eating scraps of garbage, sucking the bone marrow out of discarded animal carcasses, and munching on putrid, rotting food just to have some semblance of sustenance. He refuses to go back to those days. He understands that his friend Max is the only way to stay in this world. Monster resigns himself to help the boy. He'd rather remain cuffed in orange manacles and live life as a slave than go back to eating hot Monsterland garbage.
Max in trouble. Help him?
Help, Monster! Help! Help!
Let's take that again. Maybe a little more urgency, Shaylin.
Help. Monster, help, help.
Okay. That's better. Continue.
Monster releases the valve on his life vest, and Chucky's ingenuity pays off. The vest releases air with such force that Monster is able to ride a zephyr of courage over to a drowning Max. Max struggles to stay afloat, his muscles tired from supporting himself and his monster friend on the surfboard. Beneath the surface of the water, a school of sharks swims around Max, waiting until his lungs fill with water and he succumbs to the euphoria of drowning.
Monster coming, Max. Gotcha, buddy.
Monster grabs Max's hand, and the two float to the shore on the surfboard, meeting a breathless Jill, a fretful Amy, and a frightened Chucky. The sea will go hungry today.
That fun, Max. We surf again?
Max, are you okay?
Jill runs over to her baby brother. She's been overprotective of him ever since their parents were found dead in what was determined by local police as a murder-suicide. Jill refuses to believe her father would have done such a thing, though. She knows the killer is still out there, and she aims to find out who it is. Yeah, I guess so.
That sure was a scary spill.
Thank you, Mr. Lifeguard.
Since Monster has lived on this earth, he's acquired two tastes. One is for human waste. The looser the better. The other for love. Hearing Amy's words caused this blue Hasselhoff to swoon.
Who, me? Oh, no problem. Blaine enters, zipping to the shore on his surfboard. He acts tough on the outside, but the reason he wears a shirt to the beach is to hide the bruises his alcoholic uncle inflicts upon him at home. Blaine teases and tortures the vulnerable, because it is all he knows.
That's what you get for playing the big waves, kid. Better let me handle this contest.
Too bad, Max. There's always next year. Oh, Blaine!
Amy chases after Blaine, desperate for affection. As an only child of two workaholic parents, she yearns for any attention. It's why she's so blind to Blaine's rebuffs, and blind to the fact that the lifeguard is a blue monster from an unknown dimension dressed in an old-fashioned bathing suit. Meanwhile, Jill watches her friend leave. She's callous to rejection. The death of your parents can make or break you. And while her life has been difficult, she has learned a hard-nosed resiliency that she wishes to bestow to Max. If she wants to catch her parents' killer, she needs her brother, and she needs him to toughen up.
What do they know? Come on, Max. You still got time for another practice run before the contest.
Max looks out at the ocean. What once seemed just a part of his life now seems like an endless, daunting blue beast. He already has one of those in his life. He does not need another.
Finn.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. This concludes Voice Acting Power Hour. Our MVP, Ben, you killed it. You killed it, buddy.
Bullshit.
I'm versatile.
Your accents. Your accents. I win games.
I didn't want to go too far. I have an Al Pacino as well. And that's about as far as my repertoire goes.
Maybe next Voice Acting Power
potentially.
Hour. Yeah. So I thought, because this show was so fucking dull, I thought I would pepper it in with some background and give the characters some layers.
Sure.
Yeah. And a Grizzly Man reference is always nice.
Grizzly Man had a grisly end, and that's what the Moonblood will do to you.
It's true.
Women,
it's true.
Women weaken the knees.
Yeah.
And draw in the bears.
Get you mauled.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Rest in power.
Well, thanks for playing, everybody. That was fun. I liked it.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting.
And sorry, listeners. Thanks for indulging me.
On to the mailbag. And we have a letter this week from Rick Fair. Dear podcast hosts, Cartoons are all well and good, but when are you going to talk about the commercials? Capitalism rules. Tell me about one of your favorite commercials. I'll take my answer off the air. And thanks, Rick. And it's true. Commercials are pretty bitchin'. I'm sure we all have favorites. Who wants to talk about theirs?
Shaylin, you go first.
Blow Pop. Do you remember during the Double Dare, Double Dare and Team and Family Double Dare?
Mm-hmm.
I guess all Double Dare was a team. Anyway. They went through the whole song and it was like doom doo 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 doo, and they went through all the flavors and they go sour apple. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Strawberry,
Yeah.
cherry, grape.
Sour apple. You whisper one.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's right.
No.
Yeah.
Sour apple.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it sour apple?
No, it was not that.
No.
I think it was sour apple.
Very breathy.
Mm-hmm.
Sour apple.
Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
who's up next?
So I had a couple, and one of them was Crossfire.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Crossfire.
Crossfire! And that little bastard with the hair, he got his.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, I guess it's not one commercial, it's a whole line of commercials. And Double Dare kind of brought this up. They always had ads for British Knight sneakers.
Yeah, BK
Yeah.
Nights.
Oh, yeah.
So I had, oh no, one of those was LA Gear. Never mind. Well, I guess I had one pair of British Knight sneakers. And I revealed this to Shaylin off mic, and now seems as good a time as any to bring it to the show. So, Dave, do you remember the Michael Jackson sneakers?
No.
Okay. So, you know the music video for Bad?
I do, yeah.
You know, like that leather studded jacket he's wearing?
I am familiar, yeah.
All those metal accents.
So there were sneakers
Oh, God.
for those, and I had them. And
Did you ask for them, or did you just get them?
I mean, chances are good that I just got them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I respect Michael Jackson as an artist, but maybe this was a bad idea to tell this, but
It gets better.
Fuck it, we're in deep enough. So I was thinking about this a few weeks ago, as one will do, and I went on eBay to look them up and just see, like, were these as bizarre as I remembered? And if you go on eBay and you search Michael Jackson sneakers, you'll see these things. But the interesting thing is that all of the listings have them as lady sneakers. This is a bad idea. I shouldn't have told this story.
That's okay. How often did you wear those sneakers?
I think pretty routinely. I mean, you have shoes, you might as well wear them.
Yeah. You've got to protect your delicate lady feet too. So
Yeah, apparently. I mean, and that's what gave me the dancing skills that I have to this day.
mm-hmm, that's
true.
true. You are.
You're
you can
basically
cut a rug.
James Cadney.
Yeah. So my answer is Crossfire.
Okay.
Dave.
Micro Machines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That
fair.
never got old for me.
Those were good.
I also liked remember the Fisher Price 3-in-1 pool table?
Yeah.
So you had it was like a mini pool table, air quotes, air hockey and ping pong. That commercial was great because it shows the kids playing these games all day long, and then the lights shut off and the air hockey rink like lights up because it's glow in the dark, and the kid just goes, "One more game."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
That was good.
So Micro Machines in that one. Yeah.
You know what else was a good commercial? The old WWF toys, the ones where, like, so they would have the toys and the little plastic ring, and then like Roddy Piper would jump up and he'd be like screaming at the kids about Hulk Hogan's bear hug of racism and the Ultimate Warrior's power slam, and he's just like jumping around and playing toys with the kids.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always liked it because I had those toys, you know, they were fine to have. They were fun, but I would never think of myself in the situation of, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Sergeant Slaughter came and played with me? Because it would be terrifying.
Right.
You know?
Man, I can't wait till the Ultimate Warrior comes to my living room and screams at me while I play with these toys.
Yeah.
In a similar vein, the Kool-Aid commercials when I was a kid,
Sure.
like it made me really anxious to consider that like someone would just burst through a wall.
Mm-hmm.
I was too practical as a child. That's what I'm learning tonight about myself.
That's true.
Hated the Kool-Aid man, and your imaginary friend was an accountant or IRS person, whatever. Yeah.
Insurance fraud.
Yeah, there
Murder
we go.
victim.
If nothing else, this podcast is a journey of hope and healing for all of us.
It's our audio memoir.
That's right. That's a deep cut. So thanks, Rick. If you want to write to the show and hear us bullshit for a minute, you can do so at email@watchbotspod.com and put fuck you in the subject line. That's guaranteed to get a read. So guys, any last thoughts on My Pet Monster?
Boy, am I glad we have a different cartoon to watch next week.
Mm-hmm.
Big ol' sorry, everybody.
Mm-hmm. This really underscored why I was a My Buddy kid.
Was there a My Buddy cartoon?
Maybe.
There's a movie series called Child's Play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Again?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, dolls are always creepy, so I guess that's consistent material.
That's true.
Very
That's
true.
So you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Jiffy at WatchBotsPod. But I'm not going to say YouTube because fuck you, YouTube.
You can become a super fan by following us in all those places, like our good friend Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Lori.
That's right. Thanks, Lori.
Yay!
And also you can get the merch at our TeePublic store. Plug, 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 plug.
Plug, 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 plug.
But please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, or your platform of choice. For Dave and Shaylin, this is Ben. Thanks for listening to another episode of WatchBots. Until next week, just remember that being in handcuffs doesn't necessarily turn you into a monster. Bye!